Okay, folks, continuing on to page 2, we're looking at number 10. I'm used to scrub small glassware. That is going to be the scrubby brush. So how the scrubby brush works is sometimes we've got some kind of substance or something that's stuck inside of a container. So we can use the scrubby brush to kind of clean it out. You can just add in a little bit of water, a little bit of soap, scrubby brush, ta-da. So yeah, scrubby brush. And just in case you didn't get a good image of the scrubby brush from before, because it was in the Erlenmeyer, this is just kind of what it looks like. They come in different shapes and sizes, some with bigger brushes, some with bendy handles, some with solid rigid handles. We've got a ton of them. Cool. Number 11 is the stir rod. Cool. So the stir rod is very useful for, you guessed it, stirring solution, right? Sometimes you need to mix in some salt in water, or sugar in water, or oil in water, or usually something with water, right? Acid in water. And what we'll do is we'll use the glass stirring rod to stir it. Sweet. Number 12. Made of metal, I can pick up and hold test tubes. This is going to be the test tube tongs, and this is one of the most commonly misused pieces of lab equipment that we have. So, how it works, it's quite simple. What you do is you just apply a little bit of pressure, and then set the test tube on, or in rather, your test tube clamps, and you're good to go. Okay, it's really useful. You could heat it over something like a Bunsen burner. We'll do that quite a bit actually. And we'll talk more about these when we actually get into the lab setting and how to use the test tube tongs. But moving test tubes, right? Good. I can help transfer solid chemicals to their container. We will use something called a spatula or a scoopula. It's very useful for transferring solid particles and moving them around from place to place to place. What I just showed you actually is not really a spatula per se, it's called a scoopula. However, over time names change, and most people today would refer to this as a spatula, so it's worth knowing that you could call it that as well. Okay, 14. Yeah, there we go. So this tool right here is called a ring clamp, and what you can do is you can take your iron ring stand, you can take your iron ring clamp, you can set the ring clamp on the ring stand, and you can take something like a wire gauze and set that on top of the iron ring clamp. So, number 14 is called the wire gauze. Additionally, you could set a wire gauze on a countertop, and if you had some hot glassware, you could set that glassware onto the wire gauze so you don't risk damaging the countertop. Or if, for example, we need to use a Bunsen burner to heat up a liquid, we could set the Bunsen burner underneath our wire gauze, underneath our beaker, and that would work as a really good way for us to have the Bunsen burner heat the beaker. Okay, that was that. Good. All right, next up, number 15. This is, quite frankly, either the second or the most commonly used piece of lab, probably second most piece of lab equipment. This is the graduated cylinder. Okay. So I can show you what the graduated cylinder looks like here. We can pour some liquid in it as well so it's easy to see. There we go. Okay. So this is called a graduated cylinder, and it is called that because it is a cylinder and it has gradual or graduated increments showing exactly how much liquid is in there. Real quick, let's just say I ask you to measure out 24 milliliters of liquid. Do you think you should use the beaker or the graduated cylinder? Which one? You should use the graduated cylinder. You'll notice the beaker has a 25 milliliter marking, but it doesn't have a 24 milliliter marking. And I'll level with you, this 25 milliliter marking is not very accurate. It's a fairly big line, and quite frankly, if you had liquid in there and you tried to get it to be 25 milliliters, it'd probably be 30. Whereas with the graduated cylinder, we can look at it and we can see, okay, so here's 23, 23.2, 23.4, there's 24. So I could see if I've got 24 mils, if I've got 24.0 mils, I could see with a lot more certainty exactly how much water is in my graduated cylinder. Okay, graduated cylinder, we'll use that a lot. I'm used to measure the temperature of different objects. I bet you guys know what this is. You've used them before. It is a thermometer, right? We've got a couple of different styles of thermometer. We've got some that are just large glass rods. This one has a metal back so that it's a little easier to read the numbers on it. We'll use the metal ones more just because it's easier to read them. But yeah, there's my markers. Number 16 is the thermometer. Like with the meter stick and the ruler stick, when we are using thermometers, there we go. When we're using thermometers, we will be using Celsius instead of Fahrenheit because we're good scientists. Okay, I'm used to measure, we did that one. Okay, I produce heat and flame. I showed you guys this a little bit earlier in the video, but the Bunsen burner, we'll use Bunsen burners quite a bit. I don't think you guys use this in 8th grade, so I'll demo how to do that at a later point in time, just because I don't have gas in the classroom. But the Bunsen burner is really useful for producing a lot of flame, for heating things very quickly. So yeah, Bunsen burners, really useful. I can use a light. This can be used to light the Bunsen burner. Perfect. This is called the sparker. Number 18 is called the sparker. The sparker is a really useful tool for just lighting Bunsen burners. It doesn't do a really good job of lighting a candle. It's also a really difficult piece of equipment to use, so we'll practice with it a lot. But basically what you do is you apply pressure on this piece of flint right here, and you strike the flint across this metal plate that is inside the Bunsen burner. And if you apply enough pressure, you can get it to spark. Cool. That takes care of our common labware equipment. There are a couple, these are not in the notes, that we'll use over the course of the year that I thought I would just bring with just to show you that we have them. We've got a funnel, right? Funnels are really useful for getting liquids into containers that would otherwise be very difficult to do. Ta-da. There we go. And it just flows nice and neatly into the Erlenmeyer. We've got something called a mortar and pestle. We'll use these probably once a year, I would say. I use them once with chemistry, once with physical science. But it's really useful for grinding rocks and other hard powders into soft granular powders. So we'll use this occasionally, not very often though, which is why I don't test on it. And that's all of them. So there you go. Cool. Yeah, stay tuned. There will be more information throughout the week that you guys have access to. You can choose to work at your own pace and just kind of do Thursdays on Thursday and Fridays assignments on Fridays. Or if you want to work ahead and keep on trucking along to the Friday stuff, go for it. I'll be available via office hours in the morning from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, that type of, basically whenever there isn't a class in session, I'll have office hours available. Shoot me an email, or quite frankly, my preference is just join the office hours. I can much more easily answer your questions in office hours. That is my preferred means of communication, is face-to-face via Zoom. If that's not an option for you, or if you're not comfortable with that quite yet, shoot me an email and we'll work together. Okay. Email is the second best form of communication. My phone is fine. You guys have access to that. I'll give that to you if I haven't already. But email just works better. Just if there's one person calling me, I can't answer the phone for the next person, so they'll get my voicemail a decent amount. But yeah, there you go. Cool. This has been a wonderful Thursday lesson. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is information that you guys do need to learn. There will be a test on the information in today's lecture. So make sure that you guys learn what each of these things are. We'll be kind of double backing onto this target tomorrow with the new target we'll be doing, where we compare the lab equipment that we have in the lab with equipment you guys have in your own homes. Stay tuned.